I'm going to show you how to check employee availability in standard time. Essentially looking at employee scheduling and finding out when employees are available to work. It turns out there are two ways to do this, two methods of doing it. I'm going to show you the simple method and the advanced method. So we're going to start with the simple method and then move on to the more advanced. So I actually have two different databases that have this set up for both methods. So we're going to look at the first one. The first place to start would be to go to the View menu and then choose Project Resource Allocation. This is kind of just a fancy term for project scheduling or employee scheduling as it relates to working on projects. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. Up pops this window, and essentially what you're seeing here are bars that represent time where an employee will work on projects. You can see the employee here. See that I'm looking at all possible projects that this employee might work on. The blue bars indicate that the employee is correctly scheduled for time. In other words, they're not overscheduled or they're not underscheduled. The red bars indicate that they are overallocated, overscheduled. In other words, you can see the jagged black line that represents the number of hours in the month, because we're looking at hours per month here. And during these 3 months, this employee is overscheduled. They just have too much on their plate. So you could take a look at trying to reduce that. The yellow bars indicate that they are underscheduled. They don't have enough work for these months. So they're a little bit lean on those. So this bar chart allows you to look out into the future, into the coming months, and find out how an employee is scheduled. You can also go to this drop down and choose availability chart, and that's the inverse of that. So this shows when the person is available. In this case, you can see starting in March, this person is available for work. So we go back to the scheduling bar chart, and you can see when they're scheduled. Now, if you browse your mouse over this, a pop-up comes up and it tells you what projects the person is scheduled to work on and what percentage of their daily hours that they would be on. So in this case, admin 5%, implantable pump 50%, so on and so forth. Now when you go down to the lean months here, you can see that some of these projects have dropped off. So this person is only working on 2 projects, and one of those is admin. So they need another project to work on. So this gives you a pretty simple way of looking at availability. Now where do these numbers come from? Let's close this. Go up to the Tools menu, choose Projects. If you look at the projects, you'll see that you can assign projects to employees and assign what percentage of their hours go to that project. So as I look through each of these projects, you see different employees assigned and potentially different percentages of their daily work hours. So you can kind of go through that and set those percentages accordingly. So that's where these percentages come from when you go to View, Project Resource Allocation, and you browse the mouse over. The percentages you see here come from that Tools Projects setting. So let's now go and look at a different scenario that's a little more advanced, but not too bad. Okay, I've switched to a different database, and I'm going to go here to Tools, Project Resource Allocation, and it's going to look a little bit different. In here, you see when you browse your mouse over these bars that we're actually scheduling down to the task level. In the previous example, we were just looking at assigning time on a percentage of your daily work to the project. Here we're actually doing it down to the task level. So you can see that as the months go along, it's a little bit bumpy here. These are lean months where the person is not fully scheduled. Again, if you look at the availability chart, it's the inverse of that. So we have many bars where this person needs to be scheduled to do new work. On these blue bars, they are roughly correct. So let's take a look at how that occurs. It turns out that if you go over to the Project Tasks tab, you see a series of project tasks. Now, I didn't go into this view on the last video, but it was empty on the other database because we were not using project tasks at all. So you do not need project tasks to do employee availability. But in this case, we've got some, and you can scroll through this and you can see all of the project tasks which have start and finish dates, and those dates feed into this resource allocation chart to tell when the person is scheduled to work. So they may be working on a task one month but not another month. So that's how the more advanced resource availability and resource allocation occurs. So just to recap, we have two methods of doing this. The simpler method is to go to Tools, Projects, click on a project, and assign a percentage of schedule to each employee. The more advanced method is to go over to the Project Tasks tab. You can go to the Insert menu and choose New Project Task, and the dates in that task dictate when the person is scheduled. And in either case, you're going to see the output here in the resource allocation window.